Hey guys, Tacoma guy here. This is another video on how to use HP tuners. On this video we're going to do the overview of the transmission section. Basically where everything is and kind of where you do the adjustments, not how to do it. But let's get into it. So you're going to go into the transmission section. And with your top tabs, let's start with the general section first. There's no subsection. There's not really too much to adjust in this area, but it can give you an idea of things. This has your gear ratios. There would be no reason to change this, because unless you're changing your transmission, that would stay the same. This one, this is very interesting for people who don't think you need a trans cooler on this truck. If your trans is ever overheated and went to limp mode, this is what enables limp mode. Your transmission temperature has to be at 257 degrees to go into limp mode. And my truck has been into limp mode at one time before I had my transmission cooler. I was running the stock transmission fluid. In fact, I had just flushed the transmission fluid the fall before, so only had that transmission fluid in there for 6 months. Overheated it, went into limp mode. I don't know how long it takes for it to go out of limp mode, but I think I had to drive all the way home like that. And then went home, changed, put in AMSOIL, transmission fluid, and a trans cooler. I've never had a problem since. My trans temps dropped from 260 down to 170. So I dropped basically 100 degrees in time in transmission temperature having a transmission cooler. So get a transmission cooler. But that's basically, there's not going to be anything to adjust in this section because you're not going to know unless you're an expert. Don't change any of these. Okay? Basically is that moral of that story. Here's your shifting. This you're going to do some adjusting, okay? And this is where this is the area where you adjust, like when you want it to upshift and downshift at accelerator probably. Here's the angle of your throttle. Here's your shifting point, kind of. Don't really know what these numbers are weird. I don't know if they mean anything or not. It goes into a formula that we can't see. So these numbers are just generic numbers. I don't think they mean anything. But this is where you control the shifting for normal. Fault mode, I think, is when your transmission's overheated. This is in 4 low. This controls your shifting for 4 low. And this controls your shifting when your transmission's overheated in 4 low. Here's your shift pressures. This section is where you're going to do most of the work to make your transmission shift harder, softer, and quicker. Okay, you can speed up how fast your transmission shifts. I think I'm going to do a quick video, a live video, and show you how my transmission is shifting. And you can control the firmness. You can make this transmission snap really hard. The problem is we have a truck and we have leaf springs. You have too many pressure points. If you make it shift too hard, your drive shaft and rear end are going to be banging too hard. You don't want to shift too hard. You want to shift firmly and quickly, but not hard. You don't want to bang your drive shaft. You could, but then you're going to need ladder bars on there and stuff like that. This isn't a drag car. So with the stock type suspension, you can only want to shift so hard. The harder you make it shift is going to be harder on your transmission, though. You got to remember that. So with the stock fluid, I would not make it shift too hard. If you're not a believer in using the aftermarket oil or going to thicker oil, then I would leave this. I would not get too crazy on my shifting. I would maybe just make it slightly firmer and make it slightly quicker and just call it a day. Okay? Don't get too crazy with that with the stock fluid. That stock thin fluid is not very durable, overheats real quickly. It doesn't have a lot of wear protection in it. So just be cautious and don't get crazy with it. But if you put better full synthetic fluid in there, I mix in, it's basically Dextron 4 is what kind of Toyota uses. So I use Dextron 4 and Dextron 3 to make that fluid a little tougher and thicker. And I use AMSOIL, so it's much better quality than the factory. And then, so I bumped mine up just a little bit. Even mine's not crazy, but it shifts pretty good. I'm very happy with it. It shifts so good. The only thing I'm not happy with is the gear ratios now. But can't change that. It's a 5-speed transmission. It is what it is. So this is the area to do that. But again, don't get crazy. Just do some tweaks so it shifts better, because Toyota has it super soft. so that transmission can last 200,000 miles. Here's your torque converter. This is kind of where your torque converter, where it locks and unlocks and releases. Okay. And you have all your gears, oops, for that. I guess that's basically all I can say is, yeah, your torque converter is like a 2-speed converter. You can have it lock and unlock at the same time, like basically simultaneously. I've loosened mine up, where if I'm in 5th gear and I'm hitting the gas just lightly, then the converter will come out of lock, but I'm still in 5th gear. And then if I hit the gas more, then it downshifts into 4th gear. I like how my 4Runner used to do that, so I've kind of made that adjustment to my Tacoma, so it's the same way. Because the Tacoma, basically, your 5th gear is either locked or not locked, and as soon as you hit the gas, it's either kind of dogging or downshifts. So I've loosened up the converter, so I have a little bit of slip in there, and that's how I like it. Again, most of this tuning is personal preference. If you're not an expert, it's much easier to have someone tune the stuff for you. Because there's people like me that do this stuff, and there's some people who sell it. Right now I'm not selling any tunes, but there's people who are, and when they're doing this stuff all day, every day, or weekly or monthly, they already know the adjustments to make. Because once you do one truck, you know how to do the next truck. But it takes a long time to get that first truck tuned. So it's easier to get a tune from somebody, but then it's harder if you want, like if their personal preference is different than yours. It's hard to explain to somebody, I don't like how it feels, because everyone's feel is different. Some person might love the way it feels, another person might hate it. So it's all personal preference and how you drive, what size tires you have. With the stock tires, it might be fine. With 33s, it might be okay, and with 35s, it might be horrible. So everyone's truck's a little different. So yeah, so that's the nice thing about tuning it yourself, is it takes longer, but eventually you'll have the truck you want. What I like about my truck now is, the only thing that's kind of aggravating with this HP tuner is that it took so long to come out. My truck's 10 years old and it's almost time for a new one, but now I love the way it drives so much better that I don't really want to get rid of it. Now I love it. And I hate to get a new truck that's stock and then not be able to tune it. So that's kind of where I'm at. So then the next one is your torque management, and it basically this is your spark retard. So it retards the timing when it shifts. Okay, so you can, again, for firmer and quicker shifts, you can reduce this number a little bit, but you're adding wear to your transmission. And you don't want this at 0, but you could reduce this to 15 or something. Just back it down a notch. And then when you downshift, it retards the timing too. So you don't want to get crazy with that, but you can tweak it a little bit, because the Toyota has it pretty soft. On the truck, they have the transmission really, really soft. Probably more than it has to be. Essentially, I have the FRS, which essentially is the same transmission with the 6-speed, which I didn't know that, but until I looked into it, and it's basically the same transmission, and that transmission shifts a lot quicker and harder. So it's just the same. The transmission can take it, that's for sure. But in the truck, they have everything really soft, because you're also towing a trailer. You got to remember, you don't want too hard of a shift, because if you're towing a trailer or something like that, you don't want to be jerking the trailer. So you have to, with the truck, have a little bit of a compromise, but Toyota has it too soft. Okay, so you have to firm these things up a little bit, but you don't want to get crazy. And that's it. So yeah, you have your torque management, that's your spark retard, your torque converter control, if you want locked all the time or not locked, or the 2-speed converter. This is your shifting, how stiff and how fast it shifts is going to be mostly in this section here. This is when your shifts. These are your up shifts. These are your down shifts. See? When it shifts from 2nd to 3rd. This is when it downshifts from 3 to 2. All your adjustments are going to be in there. In the general, you're not really going to be making any adjustments in here. And that's it. Again, this is just the overview on where everything is on HP tuners. Subscribe, like, and share. All right, thanks. Bye.